Okay, this is Delver's Drop. It's a 2D action RPG. It's got a real physics system running behind it all, so that everything inside of it has mass, elasticity, drag, acceleration, and all those fun things that allow you to bounce stuff off the wall and allow you to ricochet, the slimes here into the spikes and knock them into pits and all that sort of fun stuff. The game mode here that we're showing is actually a one-off game mode from what the core will be, this is what we call endless drop, which is where you've got just some short amount of time to kill and you see how many rooms you can survive. The core game will actually be a story-driven random dungeon adventure where we'll have 8 or 9 different zones with about 3 to 4 levels per zone that you have to delve down through, encountering NPCs and figuring out parts of the story as you go along. We'll have multiple endings that we determine based on what actions you perform when you've gone through your current playthrough. We'll have multiple classes. We're just showing, we only have the one right here at the moment, but we have at least 7 with maybe more that we'll add after launch depending on time and community demand sort of thing. Each class will control differently. They'll have a different special attack ability, a different core preferred weapon. And each class will be able to use any other class's weapon, but if it's not their class's core weapon, they'll only be able to use it for a certain number of attacks or whatever. Each class will also have a sort of mini skill tree that will have some sort of quality of life perks that you get. So kind of the example that we use is that the rogue would have maybe the ability to have a slightly increased chance of money dropping. So that doesn't really make the game easier per se. You would have more money to spend when you get to a store, but you still have to find the store. So it's not just a flat out I do more damage. I have better armor or something like that. So, but that's the general premise of the game. We're really looking forward to revealing different parts of the story as you're going through it, and kind of having player decision determine what happens. The dungeons themselves will actually shift and change. That's each level is sort of its own meta puzzle where you're trying to get the dungeon floor to open up to allow you into the next floor, which involves things like using a key to kind of summon a room from the nether realms or whatever into a particular slot on the map so that you can reverse it and go into another room. All sorts of interesting kind of stuff like that. So some mechanical, some mystical stuff involved in it. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
So you guys started off on a Kickstarter, right?
Right. We'd been working on this before we decided to do Kickstarter, and then the first time we showed it publicly was at PAX Prime 2012, back in August or end of August. We continued to work on it a little bit. We do mostly contract work, and it was getting to the point where it's like, at the pace that we've been able to maintain versus the contract work that we have to take on, we're never going to get this out in any sort of reasonable time frame. So thankfully we did the Kickstarter, we got the amount of money that we needed and then some, which basically allows us to work on this full time until we're ready to release it, and then we have some extra money to put into some extra game features, sort of content release stuff after the fact. And that stuff will come after launch, after we get the core game out. But it was stuff that coming? That's kind of TBA. It will depend on how smooth the release stuff goes, but it will basically be as soon as we get, it will be PC, Mac, and Linux first, and then iOS, Android, and the Ouya after that, and then we'll start working on the content release stuff after that. So we don't want to delay the core game launch, so that's kind of the reasoning behind that. But yeah, it was stuff that we kind of wanted to maybe do with the game anyway, and then hitting the different stretch goals on Kickstarter let us basically say, well, yeah, now we're sure that we get to do this. So.